Hello everyone. Today's video is going to be rather simple. We're just going to be going over my current perspective of Falcon's matchups in the current metagame, which obviously might change a bit down the road, but we'll see. +2 means that this character just gets destroyed by Falcon, at least I think so. +1, we beat them, +1 or even. We either slightly beat them or it's even. Even means, well, even. -1 or even means I'm not entirely sure if it's -1 or even, same with like +1 or even. -1 means we lose to them, but not by too much. And then -1 or -2 means I'm not entirely sure if it's a -1 or a -2 negative matchup. Alright, well to start, King K. Rool. I think we body this character. All we really have to worry about is crown and neutral, which once you get used to getting around that, you can just body him in every other aspect in neutral. You do vastly more damage per hit when you hit him in neutral. He can't really edge guard you reliably outside of like getting a read with Nair, which you can easily get around most of the time. And then you can just annihilate him off stage. Most of the time all you have to do is just go into the stage and then reverse up B him into oblivion if he tries to recover low, and otherwise just hit him with back airs or what have you. Little Mac, this character actually keeps up with Falcon pretty well in neutral. It's just he gets virtually no reward for hitting you, and then you get all the reward in the world for hitting him. This goes for on stage and off. Piranha Plant, this character has kind of a similar thing with King K. Rool, where the matchup can be annoying if you're not used to dealing with their main gimmick, Patui. But once you get used to that, for the most part, you're just going to be able to body him. You oppress him in disadvantage, you combo him extremely hard, you can edge guard him effectively, and a lot of time it's just not a good time for him unless he can get you off stage and get you with nairs or cheese you a lot with Patui setups. Alright, on to +1. Matchups we win, but not quite to the same degree. Bowser, I think both these characters destroy each other on stage, off stage, in advantage, and in disadvantage, and both characters in general will be able to keep each other in disadvantage pretty well. The only real difference is, I also think neutral's pretty even, by the way, but the real difference is that Falcon's combo game on Bowser is just so much worse than any of the combos we really have to worry about from Bowser. And though even everything else is pretty even, honestly, but our combos are just so much stronger than his, and everything else being even, that we edge him out. Bowser Jr., this character, I think it's similar to the Smash 4 version of the matchup, except our neutral is a lot more diverse in what it can deal with. We can whiff punish him pretty effectively. He can't really get in that well. We win neutral solidly, we edge guard him solidly. He can edge guard us as well, but a slight advantage in neutral and a slight advantage in combos give us the edge. Charizard, kind of a similar thing. He can keep up okay in neutral. He can punish us pretty well, but everything he can do to us, we can do except better for the most part. Rosalina, this feels pretty similar to the Smash 4 matchup, except we don't really have to worry about getting cheesed by the character like we did in Smash 4. And in return, our neutral is a lot more nuanced, and we're able to deal with a lot more stuff from her. Zelda, I just see her as a character that she has a lot of good setups, but as long as you know how to avoid them, and then your punishes, and especially with punishing, are on point, along with being patient, and we solidly win the matchup. Isabelle, I see Isabelle as basically being a worse villager. The matchup's actually extremely similar to villagers in most regards, but their smash attacks are less worrisome. Their traps are less annoying. The Lloyd Mine, or whatever you want to call it, is not really that much of a problem. And then they just don't edge guard us to the same degree that Villager does. So it's our favor instead of Villager, which is pretty even. Ice Climbers, Falcon has usually beat Ice Climbers in all of the games where Falcon has been good along with Ice Climbers, but I see that basically just being the same here. It's hard for them to catch you in neutral, you're fast, you can separate them easily, secure kills, but obviously their punish game can be absolutely devastating, and they have a lot of tricky setups, so you just have to know what the character can do, get around it, and not get grabbed at the right percents when they have the other one around. Duck Hunt, I just see this as the character has pretty decent zoning, can combo you well with the disc and other things, but They can't really edge guard you effectively. You can edge guard them effectively. And then you also win neutral solidly, even though they have a lot of good follow-ups on us. Our Nair alone just bodies Duck Hunt on paper. We can just Nair one through one hit of one of their projectiles and then land with the second hit of Nair and hit them on pretty much everything they can do, and it forces them to place completely differently than most characters. Lucas, this character has something kind of... It's pretty similar to how the Smash 4 version of the matchup was, except we have less cheesy stuff, but in return we can contest him better in neutral and in more ways. Ridley, I see this as being kind of similar to the Bowser matchup, where they can actually keep up with us pretty well for the most part. It's just we get a grab and he explodes. Or we get Nair 1 as a combo starter and he explodes. Or down air at mid% and he explodes. You get the idea. Our combos on him are just so devastating, even though Ridley keeps up very well in every other aspect with us. Kirby, this matchup was annoying in a lot of previous Smash games, but the main reasons it was because we didn't have very many tools for dealing with shorter characters, and now we have like run up, downward angled F tilt, stomp being good again, and less hitbox problems in general for pancaking things like that, to where the main things that made Kirby win the matchup aren't really there anymore, and then on top of that, his combo game on us is worse, so we probably win this solidly now. Donkey Kong, kind of similar to the other heavies I've mentioned, Bowser and Charizard. So, yeah. Corrin, this character has pretty good hitboxes in general. They're just not as crazy as they were in Smash 4. And while our main things that we had that did really well against Corrin we don't necessarily have anymore, our tools are just better, or our tools that weren't good against them before are better, and then they're just worse, so we're fine. Lucario, more or less the same thing as the Smash 4 matchup, where the character does okay if they live past the percents where we can confirm into like Nair 1 knee as a kill, or Nair 1 down air, or like up air setups, or whatever. As long as he doesn't get killed off stage or in a combo, he does fine, but it's kind of hard for him to do that because we win neutral solidly. Me, Brawler, I think this matchup's actually fairly even in neutral. It's just his punishes just aren't on our level, along with his edge guarding. Although he can do both fairly solidly. Me, Gunner, this character probably wins neutral against us, honestly, but not by enough to make it that big of a deal. And then on top of that, like, they win neutral, but they get very little out of it, and then we just heavily outclass Me Gunner across the board in pretty much every other aspect, which makes up for it. Now, a lot of these matchups that are +1 or even, I could see being +1 down the road once Falcon is further optimized. I think Falcon has more room to grow as a character than most of the characters in the game, which is the reason I even have the +1 or even, or -1 or even in the first place. I could see a lot of these matchups changing. Starting with Megaman, this one's pretty similar to the Smash 4 matchup, where he can keep us out well, but we make up for it with how much damage we do when we get in, but we're better at getting in than we used to. He does have some tools that make it a little easier for him to... He has more ways to keep us out, but his main ways of doing so were a lot better at getting around, mainly just because of Nair. Seriously, our new Nair is so good against characters with projectiles that we can like clank with. It's the best. Chrom, I see this as being pretty similar to the Roy matchup, where it's fairly even, but I think our offstage advantage, combined with the fact that it's so much riskier for him to try and edge guard us than it is for Roy to try and edge guard us, that we just have a huge edge off stage, but can keep up with him pretty well in neutral. This matchup's probably going to be +1 in like 6 months or a year, but for the time being, it's pretty much even. And I just don't think Chrom as a character is going to develop anywhere near as much as Falcon is down the road, even though Falcon is a good bit worse right now. Character's got a long way to grow. Diddy, he probably has a slight edge in neutral. He can actually get more reliable punishes on us than most characters, which makes his punish game against us specifically pretty good. but I feel like we still get in pretty easily if we get the right reads. There's still the fact that his punish game, while better against us, is still not great by any means. And we can also just sometimes kill him at almost any percent if we get him off stage and get the right read. So if you're smart and you know how to just not fall into basic banana traps, I'm not sure if it's +1, it's very close to it, which is why it's here. Marth, it's kind of a similar thing with the Lucina matchup, where I think most of it's pretty even, but his occasional struggles to secure stocks, if he can't get the right tippers, makes things a lot more annoying for him, especially since we can contest him effectively in neutral, and then we just kill him way earlier in general. He can edgeguard us better than we can edgeguard him, but we secure stocks outside of that so much earlier than he does that we make up for it. Ryu, this character has a pretty good punish game on us. He can actually contest us fairly well in neutral with a lot of mix-ups with his aerials, with Hadouken, and with a lot of stuff on hit into down B, for instance. But his hitboxes generally being worse, combined with a lot of our tools for dealing with his ground game being a lot better than they were in Smash 4, makes the matchup probably slightly in our favor, but I could see it being even, especially since I also see Ryu as a character that, like Falcon, has a significant amount of room to grow. Robin, this matchup, to be honest, I still need to play this one more, but I've played it a decent amount, and from those, it's one of those matchups that it can be hard for a little bit, and then once you figure out their rhythms, they kind of just fall apart. To where I'm inclined to say it's +1, but the meta probably hasn't developed enough to where Falcon will be able to effectively and consistently demonstrate that, so it's kind of there for now. Bayonetta, she actually has a pretty good punish game on us. She can edgeguard us pretty well, but her neutral is just really bad against us outside of like downwards ABK mix-ups. It's so bad. And then we can also punish her extremely well, and we can actually edgeguard her in this game since she can't just auto snap. So I think it's probably +1, but I could see it becoming even if they make her hitboxes more reliable in patch 3.0. We'll see. Ganondorf. I can't believe we might live in a universe where this matchup is fairly even, but here we are. We both destroy each other off a grab. We both destroy each other off of pretty much any random neutral win. We both just absolutely annihilate each other off stage. And we both have a lot of things we can do against the other that are pretty safe. While Ganon's aren't as safe, he also has a range advantage. His hitboxes beat ours, and he can also just go for reads with smash attacks, and if he gets them right, there's not really much we're going to be able to do to contest the giant sword, because at the end of the day, Falcon's just a man with arms and legs, nothing fancy. So, yeah. Wario, this matchup, he can combo us really well. His punish game on us is great, and he can probably edgeguard us pretty effectively as well. But I think Falcon just has a solid grasp and advantage in the neutral. Our punish game on him is pretty good as well. So it's probably going to be +1 like in a year, but close to even for now, since I think Wario is not a very deep character, honestly. I think that's one of the reasons a lot of the other top Warriors are starting to play other characters is I think he's good, it's just his meta just doesn't have anywhere near as much room to grow as a lot of other characters. Which is kind of disappointing because I think he's interesting in this game. Or at least a lot of the ideas behind him are interesting. Who knows? Patch 3.0. Moving on to Incineroar, I think of this character as doing pretty solid against us. His punish game on us is really scary. A lot of his hitboxes reliably beat ours. He can win. He can keep up pretty well in neutral, surprisingly, because of how good his hitboxes are. And his offstage and a lot of side B and lariat stuff make him a lot better at getting out of a lot of our combos than most of the heavies above him. So his ability to combo break better, combined with him occasionally just being able to delete your stock at ridiculous percents with revenge setups, make him very close to even right now, but down the road, I'm hard pressed to imagine we won't win this matchup. You could just say it's even right now, though. Okay, Samus and Dark Samus. I'm gonna put these in the same category because why not? They can keep us out pretty well. They can edgeguard us decently, but we can't really edgeguard them as well. But I think we win neutral, and our punish game is better. And winning neutral is so important that combined with us having a better punish game just probably gives us a slight advantage, but probably pretty even for now. Sheik, I could see. I think this matchup is actually like the inverse of the other characters, where it's +1 right now. But I think down the road, especially if Sheik gets some small quality of life buffs, would become even. She still does amazing against us in neutral. Can still edgeguard us pretty well. Frame data is great, but we just kill her so much earlier unless she gets a Gimp. And we can contest her more effectively in neutral than we used to. It's just, in Smash 4, all we really had was the teleport dash grab and just getting really hard reads off of other things that you'd use that for conditioning. And now we just have an actual toolbox of things to fight her instead of just lol, one move. Toon Link, this character is probably going to be a favorable matchup for us down the road, but right now it's pretty even for a lot of the same reasons as a lot of the other zoners in this tier. So yeah. You could probably apply that to these two as well, although they can be kind of annoying if you're not particularly good at getting around their beefy hitboxes. They're slow though, so if you get in, you'll be pretty much be able to do whatever you want. You just have to make sure you really learn the matchup and make sure that you understand what punishes are as tight as they can be, because if you're not extremely tight with your punishes, they're probably going to up-B you out of everything. You can bait that out though, so good to know. Olimar, this matchup is maybe one of the most relevant even matchups we have. I think it's even because even though he probably has a slight advantage in neutral, we have the speed to get around a lot of his things. We can effectively whiff punish if he gets greedy with like up smashes and things like that. Our improved neutral air makes it significantly easier to break through his Pikmin walls than we could in previous games. And then in addition to that, our punish game on him is strong, and we can kill him generally much earlier than he can kill us, even though his kill power is good. Because one, our kill power is probably about as good as his most of the time. Every so often a little bit better. It's just we're a fat character and he's, well, a feather. Lucina, pretty much the same thing as the Marth matchup, except her edge guarding and just skills on us are just more consistent. We keep up pretty well in neutral. We have a better combo game, so I think it's pretty even. Shulk, this matchup's really weird, and I thought it was even in Smash 4, and even though Shulk is a good bit better in this game, I think and we lost our teleport dash grab, we gained so many other things that are so good against Shulk, like our actual ground game having diverse good options otherwise with like jab, raptor boost, F tilt, and more, that we can actually control neutral, which we just couldn't do before. So it's nice. I think it's probably pretty even in this game. Meta Knight, I think neutral in this matchup is probably slightly our favor. And then he has a pretty strong advantage off stage, but our combos are slightly better as well. Our combos being slightly better and our neutral being slightly better compensates for the big advantage he has off stage, which makes it pretty even. Link, he can be pretty scary to deal with like off stage if he has us off stage, but we can edge guard him really well. He can edge guard us really well, although he's probably a little bit better at edge guarding us than vice versa. His combo game on us is pretty good. He can keep us out pretty well, but our combo game is better. This matchup's probably pretty even, although I know a fair amount of Links think they win it. They also probably don't have as much Falcon experience as I have Link experience, though, which has led me to think the things I do, so it is what it is. Stupid allergies. Ivysaur, a lot of similar things with the Link matchup, just a completely different version of it, honestly. Although we're not really going to edgeguard this character much, His zoning is also a decent bit less annoying than Link's, but you can consider both those pretty even. Wolf, this is another super relevant matchup that we go even in. He can combo us pretty well. We can combo him a little bit better in general. He can edge guard us pretty well. We can edge guard him pretty well. He has better range and he has blaster, but we're faster and we're just better at closing distances, even outside of like using our speed with our generally better burst options, and we have more ways of breaking through things combined with us generally being able to put ourselves in positions that are awkward for Wolf to deal with in neutral with a lot of full hops. Seriously, full hopping is, as Falcon against Wolf, is really, really good. It forces him to make a lot of awkward decisions. Do it. Young Link, he's like a much more annoying version of regular Link in neutral, but he just cannot kill us at all unless he gets an edge guard. If you don't get edge guarded, you can very reliably live to like 180 or 190, which makes sure winning neutral can be pretty annoying, but we have pretty good tools for getting through his projectiles, especially with Nair. If they try and rely too much on keeping us out with burst options, we can Raptor Boost through them. His range isn't great, he can't really kill us, and then we kill him extremely well, and we also have the tools to break through, even if he still has a solid advantage in neutral. So probably pretty even. Ken, this is a fun matchup. Both these characters can destroy each other, but none of them will be able to do it like in a brain dead way or anything. Both of us have to think a lot when we go for our punishes because both of us have decent ways of getting out of them, combined with our weights being the way they are. We can destroy each other on and off stage, and we both have tons of counterplay for pretty much everything the other can do. It's just a very fun and nuanced back and forth matchup. Really like it. The same thing honestly applies to ZSS. She's faster, hitboxes are good, but we can generally kill her a lot earlier than she can kill us. It's just she has a lot more tricky setups, and she's better at edge guarding us than vice versa. We won't really be able to edge guard her much, sadly, unless you get a read on flip kick, or you get a read on them not going for flip kick and like back air them or something. Good stuff though. Me Sword Fighter, this is a character that can keep us out decently well. He has a good punish game, and while he doesn't really have any like crazy punishes on us, he has a lot of very consistent and very solid punishes that work on us for a very long period of time, to where he kind of just nickels and dimes us, and then our damage is generally going to be dealt in chunks, where his is just smaller bits but more reliable. It's probably pretty even, but I wouldn't be surprised if this honestly became +1 down the road. You know what, let me just... Oh. Wrong spot. Let me fix that right now. Bam. Then there's a good chance that'll happen down the road. Alright, now where was that? It was... Oh yes, Yoshi's next. So with Yoshi, I think this matchup is very movement driven, where both characters have a ton of ways they can get around almost everything the other character can do. And it's whoever wins this matchup is almost always about just who can read the other's movement better. Yoshi has a gazillion ways of getting out of pretty much everything we can do, pretty much vice versa. Another fun matchup if you know what you're doing. Wii Fit Trainer's kind of an awkward one, but probably even as well. Sure, the crouching stuff is annoying, and they're better than they were in Smash 4, but we're also significantly better at dealing with the things that make the character annoying for us, like crouching in neutral, the offstage planking, and things like that. It's probably pretty even. Our damage output on them is better than their damage output on us. We can combo them better, get kills earlier, but they edge guard us better, so on and so forth. Mewtwo, this is also like the Kin matchup, where both characters just absolutely annihilate each other. Both characters can combo each other very effectively, but nothing is super free per se. They're just really good at putting each other in interesting disadvantaged positions where there's a lot of freeform, and it's just a fun matchup on both ends. We don't really have the cheese we had on him in Smash 4, but he also doesn't dominate us in neutral anymore. We lost our cheese, but now we don't get bodied in neutral anymore, so it's pretty even compared to his Smash 4 matchup where it was also even, just in a completely different way. Villager basically just copy paste from the Isabelle one above, except Villager has Bowling Ball. Seriously, that move by itself makes that much of a difference. With Isabelle, we really only have to worry about just getting hit by the aerials, which we can get around pretty effectively, but it's significantly harder to do this against Villager because the threat of Bowling Ball is so scary that it forces us to behave differently, which makes us significantly more susceptible to their aerials off stage. So even though it's just one move, it changes the dynamic of offstage gameplay so much that Isabelle's aerials are significantly less threatening than Villager's, despite basically being the same, just because Bowling Ball exists. Therefore, it's even. On to Falco. This matchup is also in a similar vein of like Mewtwo to Kin. Both characters can body each other, both characters have really strong punish games, both characters can edgeguard each other really effectively, but also have tons of ways to get around everything. He's slow, but his hitboxes are generally beefier than ours. They're good at beating ours, and then he also has Phantasm tricks, easier combo starters, and Laser is actually pretty decent for just stopping movement. Both characters have a lot they can do against each other. It's a fun, volatile matchup. Jigglypuff. This one's annoying, but like a lot of the smaller characters, we're better at dealing with them in general. The only real thing is Jigglypuff also got some nice buffs that make her better, even though we got better at dealing with them. So, like the Smash 4 equivalent, it's pretty even. Dr. Mario, this matchup's a lot like the Mario matchup, except he's slower. And while he's stronger, because he's slower, he's not able to express the same level of control in neutral that he can against the rest of us in general, which makes a lot of his life harder. And it makes it to where, sure, he can edgeguard us more effectively, but that loss in speed makes everything so much less safe that neutral is probably fairly even or slightly Falcon's favor, and then we can both edgeguard each other pretty well, but I think Doc edgeguards Falcon harder than vice versa. Ness, this is one of those matchups where it's another one where both characters destroy each other. This is a common theme with Falcon since he's a volatile character, where both characters can destroy each other. His range is generally better than ours. You mostly just have to learn how to deal with his hitboxes and know the proper times to come in, and you'll be fine. You can also do a surprising amount to get around down smash and up smash setups off stage along with PK Thunder, so make sure you learn those things and you should be fine. DDD is probably, I think he's the best of the pure heavyweight characters against us, mainly because his neutral against us is so much scarier than the others, and he can just body us off stage and we can't really edgeguard him that much. His disadvantage against us is also a good bit better than most of the other heavies, even though a lot of his buttons and disadvantage are less scary than a lot of the other heavies. The fact that he just has so many more options makes it significantly harder to get our good punishes on him and get the combos that ultimately push us above the other heavies. So it's probably pretty even, but I still need to play the matchup more. Pac-Man, this character is pretty obnoxious for us to deal with in neutral. He can realistically beat literally everything we can do in neutral. Can edgeguard us decently, we can edgeguard him decently. Problem is, our combos on him are better than his combos on us, and we just kill him way, way earlier than he can kill us. But even though he has a strong advantage in neutral, we can also realistically deal with everything he has as long as you get a hard read. So this matchup's all about being patient, gathering data, and then just making the right reads you need to zone break and start your punish game. Pit and Dark Pit. They have pretty solid movement against us, although nothing fancy. They can edge guard us pretty well. I think we have a slight advantage in neutral and a slight advantage in punish game, which offsets their strong advantage off stage. Ends up pretty even. Disclaimer. On this next row, I think there's a strong chance that literally all of these matchups are going to be even down the road. Except for maybe Luigi. I'm a little less confident on that one because of his 0 deaths. But I think literally all of these could end up being even down the road, which means these would be our only negative matchups. This also assumes that no patches change any of this, which probably will, so we'll see then. I guess change it accordingly then. Starting with Fox, this is a pretty even matchup in neutral. Both characters have a ton of ways of dealing with pretty much everything the other has. Fox's confirms on us are a lot less good than they were in Smash 4, but also our confirms on him are a lot less good than they were in Smash 4. We can edge guard him better than he can edge guard us, but he can frame trap us a good bit better than we can frame trap him. It's probably pretty even, honestly, but I think in the current meta game, he's just more developed than Falcon is due to having more top level representatives and him also most likely being an easier character to play than Falcon, which leads to him being at a better spot in the current metagame and probably having a slight edge right now. But I think in 6 months to a year, this matchup will most likely be even, assuming patches don't affect either of them. Same with literally all of these except for maybe Luigi, except in different ways. Greninja, it's probably pretty even in neutral. He has more reliable confirms on us, but our combos in general are better. And he can't really edge guard us effectively without going for super risky hard reads, whereas we can edge guard him fairly well with good reads. So it's probably pretty even due to our offstage advantage. Roy's a lot like the Chrom matchup, except while he can have a harder time securing kills on us if he doesn't get the right hits, he can also use the weak hits of his moves to make his combos better, and because of this, his combo game in general is a good bit scarier than Chrom's. He also has a significantly better recovery, which makes it to where not only is he a lot harder to kill off stage, but it's also much better for him to go off stage against us. Because the thing about Roy and Chrom is they have really good edge guarding against us, but Chrom is so easy to reversal and just explode off of just about anything, and then Roy isn't. That much larger margin of error makes it to where he can just go ham off stage against us and not really have to worry about it anywhere near as much. And that's a problem. So combine that with him having his side B, which can kill extremely early, and this matchup is probably slightly Roy's favor right now, but I think Falcon's meta has more room to grow than his does, and so he's eventually just going to catch up to a point where the matchup's pretty even. Sonic, this one, I'm tired, sorry. So this one, I think Sonic probably has a slight advantage in neutral, but not as much as I originally thought. It's to a point where most of the things he can do, we can counteract fairly well, especially with dash attack. Dash attack is our lord and savior in this matchup. Dash attack is what makes the world go round. We just need to keep up in neutral and not get edge guard, because while we aren't really going to edge guard him much, we can threaten true frames with down air and explode his stock at tons of different percents. And there are also some pretty solid mix-ups you can go for off stage with like weak knee into under the stage into either up B, up air, or neutral air to mix up their tech timings to stage spike them. To where you can get that and edge guard them decently with that, and you can true frame them with dare, but that's still not amazing or anything. His edge guarding against us is better, and he has a slight advantage in neutral, but our damage output is way better for the most part. Our kill potential on him is significantly greater than his kill potential on us. And then our combos are also just significantly more likely to convert into death than his are. So our explosiveness and further developed neutral, this matchup has a good chance of being even, but I'll just say it's slightly -1 for now. Probably even later. Rob, this one is... It's really hard to get in against Rob, but you do so much damage when you do that it makes up for it. The main thing that makes this matchup more difficult than it was in Smash 4 is just power shielding not being a thing anymore, which makes it... Rob inherently has more time to set up if we go for parries and things like that, but I think once Falcon's punish game, goodness gracious, develops further and we all get better at neutral, I think it'll probably be even. With Ike, this matchup felt really bad in like the first few months of this game, and then the more it developed, the more counterplay I've been able to find for pretty much everything I can do against us. The more our punish game has developed to where we can just outpace him in the damage race, and then we're also faster. Sure, all of his hitboxes beat all of our hitboxes, but especially as parrying becomes more prominent, we'll be able to keep Ike a lot more honest, edgeguard him effectively, combo him extremely well, and get kills in general, and also be able to counterplay his neutral to where you could say it's Ike's favor for now, probably even down the road. The only one of these that I don't think has a good chance of being even down the road is Luigi, as it stands now, for one very simple reason. He can easily 0-death us off a grab. That's it. We beat him in pretty much every other way, but that alone is just such a huge advantage that it's probably pretty even. Or his favor. I think we win in every other aspect, but that alone makes it probably his favor, but who knows, even that might become even one day. On to the next. So with Cloud, this matchup is probably the most annoying of the sword characters for Falcon to deal with, mainly just because he's fast, he has good range, his excellent range in general. His combo starters are generally better than the other swordy's combo starters on us. And he's also better at keeping us out with things like Cross Slash. Seriously, Cross Slash's range in this game, for some reason they made it bigger than it was in Smash 4. Yes, bigger. I don't know what they were thinking. Why on earth would you ever do that? But here we are. It's so good for whiff punishing us, and we no longer have the teleport dash grab, which makes the range increase on that move even more of a drastic change. Of course, we combo him effectively, we edgeguard him really well, but it's probably a little bit his favor. Palutena, we can generally outdamage her, we can kill her earlier than she can kill us, but she wins neutral, and she wins offstage. Peach and Daisy, both these characters can kind of destroy each other, but I think offstage is probably fairly even, with a slight advantage to them, and then they have a slight advantage in their punish game too. While our punish game is really good, theirs is a lot more consistent, whereas Falcon's is going to require a lot of reads and improvising. A lot of Peach and Daisy's punish game on us is mostly just rote memorization, to where it's just going to be a lot more reliable because it's much more guaranteed, if you will. So yeah, slight advantage in punish and slight advantage offstage equals this. Inkling, I used to think this matchup was way worse, but the more I play it, the more evident it becomes that while a lot of things they can do in neutral are annoying, they can't really effectively approach us. It's hard for us to effectively approach them either, but we also combo them surprisingly well. And while we can't really edgeguard them, true frame down air is pretty solid. If you can land just one a set, that'll probably do a lot for you. And we also kill them a good bit earlier than they kill us, outside of like being gimped. Their edge in neutral and their edge off stage, though, is probably enough to make it -1. Pokemon Trainer, we don't lose to any of the other Pokemon, but Squirtle exists, therefore -1. Squirtle, this character, we can generally outdamage him, and we can also kill him much earlier than he can kill us. The thing is, Winning neutral against this character is extremely obnoxious due to his small frame, amazing frame data on shield, and our general inability to punish anything he does out of shield or on whiff. We kind of just have to get hard reads on him and then just carry our punish game as far as we can, because his disadvantage against us is pretty blah. So as long as you can get him in disadvantage off a hard read, you're fine. It's just winning neutral against this character is so much of a pain that he ends up winning. Game & Watch is kind of like the Squirtle matchup, except his neutral is a fair bit less annoying. He can edge guard us better than Squirtle can, though, and that, I guess, makes it about the same ratio. Mario is a matchup that I think it's pretty much the same ratio as it was in Smash 4, maybe a little bit better for Falcon, but still overall -1. To where the character can combo us pretty well. We can combo him decently well. It's just really hard to get the wins we need on him in neutral if he stays in the air and is ambiguous with a lot of his movement and cross-ups. A good Mario's aerial game is just really hard for us to get the right hits on, whereas he can realistically convert the hits he needs to get his strings going off of that. And the ease of access through which he is able to get his things going versus how much harder it is for us to get our things going makes it even though we're probably fairly well matched everywhere else across the board. Just a fundamental thing, I suppose. And now we're at these three. I could see all three of these becoming -1 down the road, but I don't think the rats are going to not be... Well, I'll just say this. I think these matchups are these two are for the most part -1. But if our Raptor boost was more consistent on hit, that move alone would easily make these matchups just -1 instead. Because we'd be able to whiff punish the things they do much better. We can kill Pichu earlier, but he's harder to hit. We don't kill Pikachu as late or as early. And we don't really have the same, we don't have to worry about getting killed as early either, but his combos on us are generally a little bit better. His edge guarding might be a little bit better as well, and he lives a lot longer. But both these are really hard to hit, and we get bodied off stage by them, but as long as you can get consistent true frame down airs, and if patch 3.0 makes Raptor Boost a consistent move, they'd probably be very doable matchups. Because if Raptor Boost was consistent, we'd be able to keep their aerial game on us very honest by using Raptor Boost as kind of a counter of sorts to them approaching because of their short range. We wouldn't really get much out of it because of their weight. It would just do 7 or 8 damage. It would never kill, and it'll probably never lead to anything. But at the very least, we'd have a way of keeping them honest, and that would do wonders for us. Snake, I think this matchup, when further optimized, might just be -1, but I definitely have a long way to go in this matchup, not gonna lie. The reason it's hard, it's very much his favor in neutral, especially with his dash attack being an incredible burst option that rivals our own. He can basically play the baiting game with us, and then he also has all those projectiles. And then he also has grenades if he gets hit. To where it's very hard for us to get good combos on him reliably, but he can combo us pretty reliably. He can also edge guard us pretty well, where for the most part we're not really going to edge guard him unless we can preemptively read up B and get ourselves in the right position, but that's hard to do against good Snake, so it's... Honestly, Snake might be our hardest matchup. That feels so weird to say, but the rebooted Falcon design changes combined with Snake's buffs and changes make it to where we're significantly less good at dealing with the character than I thought we would be. Might be worth playing a secondary for him, but I also need to get a lot better at the matchup, and I wouldn't be surprised if I'm able to find a way to reliably make the matchup -1. Maybe the other Falcons are better at it. I hope you are. Don't be like me. Either way, I think that covers about all of it. Hope you found it useful. This is I'm probably going to make a matchup video series where I talk about all of them in more detail in a few months, but I think this is good for like a preliminary video. Either way, if you enjoyed this, found it useful or anything, feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you really like this channel, turn notifications on by clicking that little bell. And if you want to keep up with more stuff, you could follow me on my Twitch at twitch.tv/fatalityfalcon. Drop a Twitch Prime if you're generous, or follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/fatalityfalcon. Hope you guys found it useful, and have a good day or night, depending on where you are.